The ocean breeze carried the scent of grilling steaks across my parents' backyard as I watched my brother Marcus holding court, his designer watch glinting in the sunlight. At 38, he still commanded attention like the star quarterback he'd been in high school. So anyway, Marcus continued, swirling his craft beer, since James here is never at his beach house, we figured it's the perfect solution. Sarah and the kids need a change of scenery, and that place is just sitting there collecting dust. I maintained my pleasant expression, the same one I'd perfected over the last 5 years while building my empire in secret. At 35, I'd learned that silence was often more powerful than argument. Mom beamed at Marcus's announcement. Oh, that's wonderful. The children would love being near the ocean. James, honey, you're always traveling for that little consulting business of yours anyway. Dad nodded sagely, his silver hair catching the light. Makes perfect sense. Family should help family. And frankly, son, it's about time that property was put to good use. I took a slow sip of water, letting the ice clink against the glass. They had no idea that my little consulting business had transformed into Morgan Hospitality Group, one of the fastest-growing luxury hotel development companies on the East Coast. The beach house they thought I could barely afford was actually the centerpiece of my newest project, a $300 million luxury resort development. Sarah, Marcus's wife, was already scrolling through her phone. I'm thinking we'll take the master bedroom, obviously. The kids can have the rooms upstairs. We'll need to replace that old furniture though, it's not really our style. My sister Katie chimed in from her lounger. Ooh, can we use it for weekends too? Tom and I could use a beach getaway, and since James is never there, I checked my watch discreetly. In exactly 47 minutes, the development announcement would go live on Business Wire. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. The moving truck is coming on Tuesday, Marcus announced proudly. We've already packed most of our stuff. The kids are so excited, they've been begging for a pool, and now they'll have the ocean. 5 years ago, this scene would have sent me into a rage. Back then, I was the family disappointment, the one who'd walked away from Dad's successful law firm to play around with hotels. The one who'd used his inheritance to buy a money pit of a beach house instead of investing in the family business. I remembered Dad's words clearly, you're throwing your life away on this hospitality nonsense. Your brother made partner in 4 years. What do you have to show for yourself? What I had to show for myself was now worth $1.2 billion, but they didn't know that. Yet, Mom touched my arm gently. Honey, I know it might seem sudden, but Marcus really needs this. His firm's been having some difficulties, and the private school tuition for the kids. Of course, Marcus's temporary difficulties. I'd known about them for months. My intelligence team had flagged his firm's impending bankruptcy filing weeks ago. The partner embezzlement scandal would break next month. Marcus didn't know it yet, but he'd be lucky to keep his law license. The beach house needs a family in it, Dad continued. Your brother has 3 kids, it makes sense for them to use it. You can stay in the guest room when you visit. When I visit my own property, the irony was delicious. My phone buzzed, a text from Charlotte, my VP of Development, press package ready, board approval confirmed, green light for announcement. I smiled at my family. Anyone want a refill? I'm heading to the kitchen. In the quiet of my parents' gourmet kitchen, I opened my laptop and checked the final details. The press release was perfect. Morgan Hospitality Group announces $300 million luxury resort development in Crystal Cove. Centerpiece property acquisition finalized. My phone buzzed again, this time from my head of security. Removal team on standby. All belongings cataloged and ready for secure storage. I'd known this day would come. Marcus had been eyeing my property ever since his financial troubles began. I'd let him play his hand, knowing it would lead to this perfect moment. Back outside, Marcus was showing Sarah photos of the beach house on his phone. Look, honey, we can put your yoga studio right here, overlooking the ocean. Katie was already planning beach parties. We should do a huge family 4th of July celebration. James won't mind, right? He's never there anyway. I checked the time again, 20 minutes until the announcement. James, Dad called out, come here for a minute, your brother has something to discuss. I joined them at the patio table, noting how Marcus straightened his designer polo shirt, his tell when he was about to deliver, practiced lines. Listen, little brother, he began magnanimously. I know this might seem sudden, but I've given it a lot of thought. You're barely using that place, and my family needs it. I'm willing to pay you rent, of course. Say, $2,000 a month. The beach house's property taxes alone were $15,000 a month. But they didn't know that. That's very generous, I replied mildly. We'll take good care of it, Sarah added. Better than leaving it empty all the time. The salt air can really damage a place if no one's there to maintain it. If they only knew about the round-the-clock security and maintenance team I had in place. The architectural preservation specialist. South Uckermüsterbrizzen. Specialists. The historical documentation team. My phone buzzed again, press release queued, counting down. Marcus leaned forward, his expression serious. Look, I know you probably had plans for the place eventually, but let's be realistic. On your consulting salary, you can barely keep up with the maintenance. Let us take it over. It's the right thing for the family. 10 minutes, Mom squeezed my hand. We all agree, honey, it's time to be practical. 5 minutes. I'll have the rental agreement drawn up tomorrow. Marcus continued. We can make this official right away. 2 minutes. Actually, I said, standing up slowly, I should show you something first. I opened my laptop and positioned it so everyone could see. The Business Wire homepage was open, counting down to the top of the hour. What's this about? Dad frowned. Just wait, I smiled. It's almost time. The page refreshed exactly on schedule. There it was, top of the business news section, complete with architectural renderings, and my corporate headshot. Breaking: Morgan Hospitality Group announces landmark $300 million luxury resort development in Crystal Cove. The silence was deafening. Morgan Hospitality Group, under the leadership of CEO James Morgan, announces its latest luxury development project. The centerpiece of the development will be the historic Wellington Estate, a beachfront property that has been meticulously preserved in preparation for its transformation into an ultra-luxury boutique hotel. Sarah dropped her phone. Marcus's face went pale. I continued reading aloud. The development will include a 5-star hotel, luxury residences, and a world-class spa, creating over 500 local jobs. This project represents our commitment to preserving historic properties while creating unparalleled luxury experiences, says CEO James Morgan. You're the CEO of Morgan Hospitality Group, Katie whispered. I smiled. For the past 5 years. But that's one of the biggest hospitality companies in Dad. Dad couldn't finish the sentence. The country, yes it is. I turned to Marcus. I'm afraid I'll have to decline your generous rental offer. The demolition team arrives next week to begin site preparation. Demolition, Marcus choked out. Don't worry, I assured him. I'm having everything documented and preserved. The Historical Society is quite excited about it. Mom's hands were shaking. But your little consulting business was a cover. I needed to work quietly while I built the company. It's easier that way. No distractions, no family pressuring me to give jobs to cousins or invest in their startups. Dad was staring at the screen reading the numbers. $300 million. For this project, yes. The company itself is valued at $1.2 billion. I closed the laptop gently. Now, about those moving trucks coming on Tuesday. Marcus found his voice. We already gave notice on our house. The kids' new school, not my problem, I replied calmly. Though I hear there are some lovely rental properties in the city. Of course you might want to wait until after next month's news breaks before making any commitments. What news? Sarah asked sharply. I gathered my things. I'm sure Marcus will tell you all about it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a conference call with our investors. James, wait. Dad stood up. We should talk about this. As a family. We are talking about it. Right now. And I'm telling you that my beach house is being demolished next week to make way for a luxury resort that will generate thousands of jobs and millions in local revenue. I paused. Unless you'd prefer I build it somewhere else. I hear the next town over is very eager to have us. The implications sank in. Dad's community connections, his precious local influence, all dependent on wealthy clients who would be very interested in this development. Now, if you'll excuse me, I headed for my car, then turned back. Oh, and Marcus, don't bother having your paralegal draw up that rental agreement. I have an entire legal team for that sort of thing. They're quite good. They even caught that insider trading attempt you made last month. We'll be discussing that soon too. I left them there in the backyard, the steaks forgotten on the grill, their perfect family afternoon in shambles. As I drove away, my phone buzzed with dozens of notifications. The press release was already making waves. Charlotte's message popped up. Local news wants an interview. Your family's going to see it on TV tonight. Perfect, I replied. Schedule it for prime time. The next text was from my head of security. Removal team standing down. Do you want us to maintain surveillance on the property? Yes, I typed back. Something tells me my brother might try something desperate. 5 years of careful planning, of playing the struggling consultant, while building an empire in secret. 5 years of enduring their condescension, their helpful suggestions, their not-so-subtle digs. It had all led to this perfect moment. My phone rang. It was Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. He could wait until he saw me on the evening news. The local news van was already set up when I arrived at the beach house. Diana Blake, Channel 7's star anchor, was touching up her makeup, while her crew adjusted lighting against the backdrop of the sunset-kissed property. Mr. Morgan, Diana extended her hand. Thank you for choosing us for your first interview. I smiled, adjusting my tie. Please, call me James. And Channel 7 has always been fair to local businesses. It seemed appropriate. What I didn't mention was that I knew she was Dad's tennis partner's wife. The interview would be professional, but the personal sting would be exquisite. My phone had been buzzing non-stop since I left my parents' house. 37 missed calls from Marcus, 12 from Dad, 23 from Mom, and countless messages from extended family members, suddenly remembering how much they'd always believed in me. We're ready when you are, Diana called out. I positioned myself with the house in the background, its classic architecture and pristine white exterior a perfect testament to my secret years of preparation. In 3, 2, 1. Good evening, I'm Diana Blake with Channel 7 News. Coming to you live from Crystal Cove, where a major development has just been announced. With me is James Morgan, CEO of Morgan Hospitality Group, with breaking news about a $300 million luxury resort development. James, this comes as quite a surprise to the community. I gave her my practiced media smile. Sometimes the best surprises are the ones carefully planned, Diana. We've spent 5 years preparing for this announcement, ensuring every detail was perfect before going public. The property behind us, it's been something of a local landmark. Yes, and it will continue to be. We're not just building a resort, we're preserving history while creating something extraordinary. Every architectural detail will be documented, and many will be incorporated into the new design. My phone buzzed again. Marcus, I silenced it without looking. Local sources tell me you actually lived here occasionally. It's been my private residence for the past 5 years. Yes, a perfect vantage point to study the property's potential while keeping the project under wraps. Diana leaned in slightly. And your family? They must be very proud of this achievement. I had been waiting for this question. They're certainly surprised. I believe they just found out during their weekend barbecue. I turned to face the camera directly. Actually, I should thank my brother Marcus. He had some interesting plans for the property himself. His enthusiasm helped confirm we were making the right choice for the community. Somewhere across town, Marcus was watching this, probably choking on his craft beer. Speaking of the community, Diana continued, this development promises significant economic impact. Over 500 direct jobs, thousands more in related services. We're partnering with local businesses, creating training programs. Crystal Cove won't just have a world-class resort, it'll have a new economic engine. My phone lit up with a text from Charlotte. Your father just arrived at the gate. Security awaiting instructions. I kept my expression neutral as I typed back. Let him through. Have them escort him to the back garden. I'll finish the interview first. Diana was showing the architectural renderings now. Stunning images of what would replace my brother's imagined yoga studio and my sister's planned party venue. The designs are breathtaking. Diana commented. When does construction begin? Site preparation starts next week. We're on an aggressive timeline. The hospitality industry waits for no one. Another text flashed. Your brother also approaching property. Multiple vehicles. Maintain standard security protocol, I replied. No exceptions. Diana was wrapping up. Final question, James. Why keep such a massive project secret for so long? I smiled directly into the camera. In business, timing is everything. Sometimes you have to let others show their hands before playing your cards. And that's a wrap. The producer called out. Perfect segment, Mr. Morgan. Diana lowered her voice. Off the record, Gerald's going to be insufferable at tennis this weekend. He always said you were underachieving. Perhaps you could mention to him that we're still looking for a legal team for the local office. I hear some excellent attorneys might be available soon. She caught my meaning and smiled. I'll see you at the club. As the news van pulled away, I walked through the manicured gardens to where my father waited. He looked smaller somehow. His usual commanding presence diminished against the grandeur of the property he'd so often criticized. The historic preservation team did an amazing job, I commented, gesturing to the restored facade. Cost a fortune but worth every penny. James, he started, then stopped, looking lost. Yes, why didn't you tell us? I examined a perfectly trimmed hedge. Would you have believed me, or would you have tried to take control, like always? Demanded I do it your way. Insisted Marcus handle the legal work. He flinched at Marcus's name. Speaking of Marcus, I continued, you might want to call him. Tell him that trying to tailgate our security vehicles through the gate isn't very professional. Dad's phone was buzzing. He glanced at it, then back at me. He's your brother. Yes. And he was perfectly happy to take my property an hour ago. Funny how things change. We didn't know. That's right, Dad. You didn't know, because you never asked. You were too busy telling me what I was doing wrong to see what I was doing right. Security radioed in, sir, Mr. Marcus Morgan is demanding entry. Becoming belligerent. Standard protocols, I replied calmly. If he persists, call local law enforcement. Dad stepped forward. Son, please, he's desperate. The firm is about to be investigated for major financial irregularities. Yes, I know. My company's due diligence team is very thorough. You knew, and you didn't warn him. I turned to face him fully. Like you didn't warn me when you and Marcus conspired to cut me out of the family firm. When you restructured the partnership to exclude my branch of the family. He paled. How did you? I told you. My team is thorough. We have copies of everything. Which reminds me, I checked my watch. The SEC should be serving warrants right about now. As if on cue, Dad's phone exploded with messages. Don't worry, I assured him. The evidence shows you weren't involved in the actual fraud. Negligent oversight perhaps, but not criminal conduct. Marcus, on the other hand, he's your brother. Dad's voice cracked. Yes, and he was ready to take my property without a second thought. To move his family into my home, because he felt entitled to it. Tell me, Dad, if I had tried to move into his house, what would you have said? The silence was answer enough. The difference is, I continued, I built something real. While Marcus was playing big shot lawyer and living beyond his means, I was creating actual value. And now, I gestured to the property around us. Now everyone will know exactly what your disappointing younger son has been up to. Security radioed again. Police have arrived. Mr. Marcus Morgan is being escorted from the premises. Dad's shoulders slumped. What do you want? Want. I have everything I want. A billion-dollar company. A landmark development project. And finally, the look on your face when you realize just how wrong you were. James, please, help your brother. For the family. I laughed. The family, the same family that was ready to move into my property without my permission. The same family that's been looking down on me for years. My phone buzzed. Charlotte again. Local business council requesting urgent meeting. Your father's colleagues are panicking. Tell them my schedule is full. I typed back. They can meet with our community relations team next week. Dad was reading messages on his phone, his face growing more ashen by the moment. The news was spreading through his precious social circle. The country club membership committee meets tomorrow. I mentioned casually. I hear they take a dim view of members associated with financial scandals. You're enjoying this, he accused. Yes, I admitted. I am. 5 years of playing the struggling consultant, listening to your lectures about responsibility and family legacy. 5 years of watching Marcus swagger around like he owned the world. And now, I spread my arms, indicating the future resort site. Now everyone knows who really built a legacy. Security called again. Sir, your mother has arrived. I sighed. Let her in. Might as well complete the family reunion. Dad looked at me pleadingly. She's heartbroken. No, she's embarrassed. There's a difference. As Mom's hurried footsteps approached on the garden path, I straightened my tie and smiled. Time for Act 2 of the family drama, and I had so many more surprises in store. Mom appeared around the corner, her carefully maintained composure cracking as she took in the scene. Her husband defeated, her successful son the stranger, and the property that would destroy their family's carefully constructed social facade. James, she started, smoothing her designer dress nervously. The things you said on TV were entirely accurate, I finished for her. Though I did leave out some details. Like how the development will include a members-only club that's already oversubscribed. Interesting how many of your friends rushed to buy founding memberships without knowing who was behind it. Your cousin Michael called, she tried. He said his investment firm would love to. Mom, I cut her off gently. Morgan Hospitality Group doesn't need Michael's penny stock investment firm. We work with Goldman Sachs. The security radio crackled again. Sir, Mrs. Sarah Morgan is requesting entry. She's alone. I considered for a moment. Let her in. This should be interesting. Mom's phone chimed. Probably another country club friend seeking information. The social hierarchy was already shifting, and she knew it. How long? She asked quietly. How long have you been planning this? The development, 5 years. The reveal, since the moment Marcus started hinting about taking my property. I adjusted my cufflinks, the ones they thought were cheap replicas, but actually cost more than Marcus's car. I wanted to see how far you'd all go, how entitled you really felt. Sarah appeared, her usual perfect poise replaced by barely controlled panic. Her designer handbag bought with money her husband no longer had touched tightly against her chest. James, she said, trying for her usual commanding tone but falling short. We need to talk about the children. The ones you were planning to give my master bedroom to. I asked mildly. How are they taking the news about their new school being postponed? Please, she whispered. Marcus, he made a mistake. We all did. But the children shouldn't suffer. I walked to a nearby garden table where folders lay waiting. You're right, they shouldn't. I picked up one folder. That's why I had these prepared. What is it? Dad asked, speaking for the first time since Mom arrived. A trust fund, for Marcus's children, completely separate from their parents' assets, protected from any legal proceedings. I held up the folder. Their education will be fully funded through graduate school, but there are conditions. Sarah reached for the folder, but I held it back. First condition, Marcus pleads guilty to all charges. No deals, no immunity agreements that implicate others. He takes full responsibility. Dad started to protest, but I continued. Second condition, you all stop pretending this was just a mistake. Marcus knew exactly what he was doing with those insider trades. He chose to break the law. How did you know about? Sarah's voice trailed off. About the insider trading. Let's just say my company's cybersecurity team is very, very good. We have copies of everything. Which brings me to condition 3. I pulled out another folder. The family home. The one you're about to lose because Marcus used it as collateral for his gambling debts. Mom gasped. They hadn't known about that part yet. I'll buy it. Market price. You can stay as tenants, maintain appearances, but Marcus never sets foot in it again. You'd buy your own parents' home. Mom's voice shook. To protect it from Marcus's creditors. Yes, to preserve what's left of the family name. Absolutely. I smiled. Consider it an investment in social capital. Sarah was crying silently now, her mascara perfect even in distress. What about us? Where will we live? I opened a third folder. I own an apartment building in the city. Not luxury, but comfortable. 3 bedrooms, good school district. The rent will be reasonable, based on what you can actually afford, not what you pretend to afford. You're enjoying this? Sarah accused, echoing Dad's earlier words. No more than you enjoyed planning to take over my beach house. I placed the folders on the table. You have 1 hour to decide. After that, these offers expire, and you can deal with the consequences on your own. My phone buzzed. Message from Charlotte. Marcus trying to contact our investors. Should we shut him down? No need, I replied. Let him dig his hole deeper. Mom stepped forward. Honey, surely we can discuss this as a family. We are discussing it as a family. I'm offering to save what I can of this family's reputation. Whether you accept is up to you. And Marcus? Dad asked. Marcus made his choices. Now he faces the consequences. The only question is whether those consequences will destroy everything you've built, or just what he's built. Sarah was reading through the trust fund documents, her hands shaking. This would save the children's future. Yes, despite their parents' best efforts to ruin it. Security radioed again. Sir, Mr. Marcus Morgan is making social media posts about the company. PR team requests guidance. I smiled. Let him. Every post strengthens our legal position. Turning to my family, I spread the folders out on the table. Tick-tock, 50 minutes left to decide. Oh, and before I forget, I pulled out one final document. This is a restraining order. If Marcus comes within 100 yards of any Morgan Hospitality Group property, including this house, he'll be arrested immediately. You do that to your own brother, Mom whispered. My brother was willing to take my home. Mom, I'm just making sure he understands that actions have consequences. My phone lit up with breaking news. Marcus's firm had just announced an emergency partners meeting. The dominoes were falling exactly as planned. 45 minutes, I announced. I suggest you use them wisely. As they huddled over the documents, I walked to the edge of the property, looking out over the ocean. Soon a world-class resort would stand here, washing away the last traces of their presumption and entitlement. My phone buzzed one final time. Charlotte again. Everything proceeding exactly as you predicted. They never saw it coming. I smiled and typed back. No, they didn't. And the best part, this is just the beginning. Behind me, my family was learning that very lesson, one carefully worded document at a time. 1 month later, I stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse office, watching the demolition crews begin their work at the beach house. The local news was covering it live. The start of Crystal Cove's biggest development project in history. My phone displayed the morning's headlines. Morgan Hospitality Group stock soars after development announcement. Former law partner pleads guilty in financial scandal. Crystal Cove Resort Project creates economic boom. The door opened and Charlotte entered with our morning briefing. The trust fund paperwork is complete, she reported. Marcus's children are officially protected. Sarah signed the lease on the apartment yesterday. I nodded, watching another wall of my former beach house come down. And the family home purchase completed this morning. Your parents can stay as tenants. As agreed. The country club board voted to maintain their membership. Apparently your influence was persuasive. And Marcus? Charlotte smiled slightly. Currently interviewing for junior associate positions in Midwest law firms. No takers yet. His guilty plea didn't help his employment prospects. The demolition continued below, each falling wall revealing the future I'd planned so carefully. The viewing platform I'd had constructed was filled with local business leaders and politicians, all eager to align themselves with the project's success. Your mother called again. Charlotte added. She'd like to know if you'll attend Sunday dinner. Send the usual response. I'm occupied with the development. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. The house feels empty without your brother's family visits. But we understand now. You were always the stronger one. I didn't reply. Some lessons needed time to sink in. The final wall of the beach house came down. Right on schedule. On my desk lay the architectural plans for what would rise in its place. A monument to careful planning and patient revenge. Sir, Charlotte hesitated. Your sister Katie has been trying to reach you. She's offering to help with the resort's event planning. I laughed softly. Send her the standard vendor application form. Let her compete for the contract like everyone else. Below, the crowds were dispersing as the demolition concluded. The past was finally cleared away, making room for the future. One last thing, Charlotte said. Marcus's old office is being converted into our local legal department next week. Would you like us to preserve anything? No, I replied. Some spaces need to be completely rebuilt. My phone showed another text, this time from Sarah. The children miss their uncle. They ask about you. This one I answered. The trust fund provides for summer camp. They'll be too busy to miss anyone. Charlotte laid out the day's schedule. Board meetings, investor calls, development reviews. The empire I'd built while they thought I was failing continued to grow. Should I schedule a family dinner for next month? She asked. Some of the board members think it would look good for publicity. I turned from the window, from the dust of demolition and the ruins of the past. No, I said finally. Some foundations can't be rebuilt, and some shouldn't be. My phone lit up one last time. I messaged from Marcus. I'm sorry, I understand now. I deleted it without reading further. Understanding came too late. The sun was setting over Crystal Cove, painting the sky in colors that would soon be admired by resort guests paying thousands per night. My family had wanted my beach house. They got their wish in a way. They could see it any time they wanted. They just had to book a room like everyone else. Charlotte, I said, gathering my papers, send out the invitations for the groundbreaking ceremony. Include the entire family. Even Marcus, especially Marcus. I smiled. Some people need to see what they've lost up close. As I left the office, the demolition dust settled on the beach below, carrying away the last traces of what my family had tried to take. They'd wanted my beach house. Instead, they got a lesson in consequences. And I got everything I'd planned for. The end.